You're streaming CBS News Bay Area.
Well, if disaster strikes in this Bay Area city, it could take hours for people to evacuate. What they're learning from a devastating wildfire more than 100 years ago.
If we needed to leave, we'd be on foot because it's in a car. If everybody tried to get in their cars, it just wouldn't work.
Plus, a new report reveals the traffic impact of the Great Highway closure. We're breaking down the findings and why some opponents say it doesn't reflect the reality.
There's a little bit more in the morning and the evening, but
what they're not capturing are the thousands of people choosing not to do things because it's too complicated to get there.
And a Bay Area baker is serving inspiration, how she's overcoming a crippling disease to pursue her passion.
As much as it's hard for me to admit that a wheelchair is likely in my future, I need to make this kitchen ADA compliant.
Thanks for starting your week with us. I'm Ann Makovic. We're going to have those stories and lots more right after our news headlines. A Delta co-pilot taken away in handcuffs after landing at SFO. A flight arrived from Minneapolis Saturday night. A passenger says after they got to the gate, local and federal agents with badges and guns came in and walked toward the cockpit. Then they arrested one of the pilots. Some of those agents were from Homeland Security, others were U.S. Marshals and Contra Costa County Sheriff's deputies. No official word yet on why he was arrested. Federal investigators looking into the cause of a deadly small plane crash off the Monterey County coast. All 3 people on board were killed. It was a twin-engine Beechcraft that crashed into the ocean near Point Pinos in Pacific Grove late Saturday night, about half an hour after taking off from the San Carlos airport. Monterey County Sheriff's Office says all the people who died are from the Central Coast. Steve Eugene Clatterbuck from Salinas and James Vincent and Jamie Lee Tabscott from Monterey. Neighbors told us they heard what sounded like a plane in trouble.
We were sitting watching TV, and my wife and I heard a plane. It sounded like it was circling. It was really low, which, got us concerned because we're like, that's unusual. And we heard it come around a second time, really low. And then last thing we heard was a thump. And we threw everything on, went running out of the house. And I think there was probably already at least 20, 30 people down here that heard the same thing.
The Federal Aviation Administration and the National Transportation Safety Board will investigate. That plane crashed in almost the same place that songwriter John Denver's plane crashed in 1997. Search teams on the Russian River have recovered a body believed to be that of a man who jumped from a rope swing and drowned. Crews responded to a report on Saturday at the Hacienda Bridge near Forestville after a man jumped in and never came back up. The body was found shortly before noon yesterday. That person has not been identified. This is the 3rd drowning in the Russian River this month. All right, let's get a check on our first alert forecast. It is cooling along the coast. That trend continues, but as meteorologist Jessica Burt shows us, we still do have some warm spots.
Well, throughout the Bay Area today, we're seeing some warmer weather in our inland spots. Places like Antioch, over into Concord and Livermore are gearing up for upper 80s, or at least mid 80s, and even some 90s all the way off into the east. You head up into the North Bay, it's a mixed bag of 70s and 80s this afternoon from Vallejo all the way up into Santa Rosa. You head across the Golden Gate Bridge from the Marin Headlands, you're down into the mid-60s today. And along the coastline, we keep cooling down more and more with cloudy skies down into Half Moon Bay throughout this afternoon. You jump the mountains over into the Santa Clara Valley, though. San Jose today, topping off at 78 degrees, 80s just along the foothills. So we're off to a pretty warm start in some of our inland spots as we head into this week's forecast, but it's still cool and cloudy each morning with misty conditions along the coast. That starts to pull back as we head into the afternoon hours along our shoreline, with misty conditions starting to push offshore into the evening hours tonight. Now, as we wake up tomorrow morning, we'll get a repeat of that once again for our Tuesday forecast. But it's wild to think that we're below average here in the Bay. Meanwhile, 188 million people across the country are dealing with heat alerts today as this major area of high pressure continues to shift its way over into the East Coast. So here in the Bay Area, while we're dealing with cool, misty conditions in the morning hours, lingering into the afternoon, we're actually going to see a beautiful, mild forecast all week long. Temperatures a little bit below average heading into that midweek forecast. 80s by Wednesday in our inland spots, anywhere from Antioch all the way up into the North Bay. The Santa Clara Valley included too, and then you head all the way into this weekend's forecast. We'll see some sunnier skies as early as Sunday. Now, as we head over into the Bay, it's a similar setup. I mean, we're talking about upper 60s mixed with the low 70s each day this week. Cloudy skies in the morning, misty conditions too. That'll clear up into the afternoon hours each day. Back to you.
Well, people are mourning the loss of an Oakland man who was shot and killed outside of an illegal nightclub. Police say it happened on 85th Avenue near G Street early yesterday morning, and it's not the first homicide at that venue. The family says the young man was an innocent partygoer caught in the middle of a shootout. Neighbors tell us a previous deadly shooting at that same illegal nightclub last year led the city to shut it down. Dal Lin has the story.
Oakland police say it was a chaotic scene. One man shot dead, another person overdosing, and the club operator allegedly locking the partygoers inside the warehouse before taking off.
Get up with your hands up and nothing in them. Not comply with
A residential neighborhood turned into a major crime scene as Oakland police search for the people who killed 23-year-old Fernando Castillo Rodriguez.
I just miss my cousin Fernando so much. We just love them so much, so I hope that no one else loses their kid to gun violence, because the way my auntie's going through it right now, it's just really hard to see.
Fernando's cousins Evelyn Roque and Luz Rodriguez say he lived in the apartment complex right across the street from the illegal nightclub. They say he was leaving the party to head home. He was caught in the middle of a shootout.
He got shot right in the front, and so when he got shot, he tried to run in. As he was running, I guess he wasn't able to make it all the way home, so he ended up on the spot over here behind us, where he sadly passed away.
He collapsed just feet from his front door. Neighbors woke up to a barrage of bullets around 3:45 Sunday morning. They say it sounded like two people shooting at each other. What did it sound like?
Like I'm just like bah, 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 like this. I said, oh my God, something's happened over there. It's a lot of people coming over here.
Martin Munoz says he was one of about 60 partygoers inside the illegal nightclub when the shooting broke out.
People were getting along. There was no animosity. There was nothing. It was just, it happened out of the blue, and at least for us, we just panicked to try to make sure that we could be safe.
He says the club operator locked the gate and ran off, leaving partygoers trapped inside. Some jumped fences to escape through neighboring yards. Oakland police detained dozens of people because they didn't know who might have been involved in the shooting. Martin says most, if not all, were released after being questioned.
We heard like loud banging. I didn't think it was gunshots. I thought it was just people fighting.
Partygoers also say while they were locked in, one man overdosed. They say police dragged him out and saved his life. Neighbors say this incident didn't come as a surprise. They remember a shooting last year at the same club that left another person dead. The city shut the venue down for a year, but it reopened in May. The person who ran the club called it 85th Events and hosted parties every weekend until 6 a.m. Videos posted on the Instagram account showed lots of alcohol and what looked like a cannabis buffet. Fernando's cousins are disgusted the club reopened again. They're still in shock over losing him, a young man they say was kind, loving, and deserved so much more.
That place should definitely be shut down. You know, these kind of situations should be handled better. And if it's illegal for a reason, and it's not safe for people.
We reached out to the club operator via Instagram. So far, no response. It's unclear if the police have located him or if he was the same person who operated the club last year. And we're also waiting to hear back from the police if any suspects have been arrested.
Still ahead here on CBS News Bay Area. When a wildfire breaks out near a neighborhood, getting out fast could mean the difference between life and death. Well, it could take up to 4 hours to evacuate if that disaster strikes in one Bay Area city. Plus, new data revealing the traffic impact of the Great Highway's closure to cars. Take a closer look at the report and why opponents say the numbers don't show what people living there really have to deal with.
Well, compared to last week around this time, temperatures are a little bit warmer for us as we kick off this week's forecast. We have upper 80s today and tomorrow throughout our inland areas, down into the low 80s as we head into our midweek forecast, and then averaging out with cloudy skies into this weekend into the mid 80s. That's pretty much where we're at widespread throughout our inland spots, from wine country all the way down into the Santa Clara Valley. But you head over into the coast and along the bay, we're also seeing a mixed bag of temperatures. Upper 60s mixed with the low 70s as we head into the next couple days with cloudy skies each morning.
Thousands of Safeway workers in Northern California will not be walking off the job after all, after both sides reached a last-minute deal, keeping a strike off the table. The union and Safeway reached a tentative agreement early yesterday, covering more than 25,000 employees. If approved, the new deal will include pay raises, a strengthened pension plan, and better job protections. Union leaders say they're going to be scheduling votes to ratify the deal in the coming days. In a statement, Safeway says in part they appreciate the union's partnership in reaching a contract that will benefit its associates and allow them to continue to serve their customers. Well, with the cool, damp weather we've been having this summer around the Bay Area, the threat of wildfire might not be top of mind. But Berkeley has commissioned a new study that says it may take a lot longer for people to evacuate a wildfire zone than they first thought. As John Ramos shows us, the city is learning a lesson from a century-old fire.
Like a lot of fire-prone cities, Berkeley is wondering what would happen if they had to evacuate large parts of the city during a major urban wildfire, like at Palisades or Paradise. But in Berkeley's case, they don't have to imagine, because it actually happened here a long time ago. On September 17, 1923, high winds drove a grass fire into Berkeley neighborhoods that burned more than 600 homes and made all the national newsreels. And that was before the hills were covered with the eucalyptus trees that Henry De Niro calls the line of fire.
Fire today in Tilden Park in a 40-mile-an-hour Diablo wind would send hundreds of thousands, if not tens of millions of embers into the city. And they wouldn't just be the Berkeley Hills. They go all the way down. They will go miles into the city.
De Niro is president of the Berkeley Fire Safe Council, a nonprofit wildfire mitigation group that is focused on the threat from the Berkeley Hills. He's reacting to a study commissioned by the city that estimates that in some neighborhoods, it could take 4 hours for people to evacuate. The study uses the boundaries of the 1923 fire and says with the current number of automobiles being used on the narrow, winding streets, a fire in the area could end up being a major disaster as the streets become gridlocked with panicked evacuees.
So I think the 4-hour estimate is reasonable in an orderly evacuation. I think the real issue is, can there be an orderly evacuation? If the alarms went off, and AC alert said this is a mandatory evacuation, there's a fire in Tilden Park, I think that the Berkeley Hills would become jammed with cars within minutes. Everyone would try to leave at the same time. And then I think a 4-hour evacuation is problematic. People would leave on foot, as they did in the 1991 Oakland fire.
Berkeley has a unique system of walking paths and stairs that could be used to get people down out of the hills in a hurry on foot. And most living in the area have been planning on that for years.
If we needed to leave, we'd be on foot, because it's in a car. If everybody tried to get in their cars, it just wouldn't work.
Imagine with an emergency, possibly at night with smoke, people a little bit in a panic, the paths are going to be your best way down on foot.
The problem with that in Berkeley is we have a significant elderly population in the Berkeley Hills. And so those who can't walk out or run out or get on a bicycle will be stuck in the hills, particularly if the streets are all jammed with traffic and with abandoned cars.
And the study points out that the road barriers that Berkeley has erected to restrict traffic flow may also be a problem during a mass exodus. So the city is recommending that people pre-evacuate by leaving their homes during extreme fire weather conditions. But De Niro thinks that may not be a realistic solution.
The challenge there is, how do you get a significant percent of the population to leave when there's no fire? And I don't think that has been thought through yet. I think that some creativity needs to come to play here. And I think we may have a problem that isn't really solvable.
We don't like to think of problems as unsolvable, but that may be what Berkeley is facing when it comes to wildfire. They can plan for an orderly evacuation, but if history has taught us anything, it's that people's human nature tends to kick in when they're running for their lives.
A number of fire evacuation workshops are being planned in Berkeley for the next few months. There is a link to more information on our website, kpix.com. It's been a little more than 3 months since the Upper Great Highway transformed into Sunset Dunes, a brand new park. People living in the outer Sunset had expressed concern about traffic flooding into their neighborhoods, and now we have some of the numbers. It's been 8 months since San Franciscans voted to close down the Great Highway and convert it into that asphalt park. That sparked a recall campaign against the district supervisor. Now, San Francisco transportation officials have released their first report on traffic patterns in the outer Sunset since that closure. Kenny Choi takes a closer look at the findings and what both sides are saying.
Using traffic data from key streets across the outer Sunset, the SFMTA says minor traffic shifts were largely aligned with traffic projections. Nick Lanham and his kids are loving the new park.
I don't really feel like traffic has gotten much worse. There's a little bit more in the morning and the evening, but mostly it's like, maybe you get like 2 cars deep at the stop sign, but it's really not too bad at all.
SFMTA data shows traffic on the Upper Great Highway between Fulton and Lincoln has dropped by 30%. But opponents of the closure point to the increased traffic in other parts of the district. The report says Chain of Lakes Drive has about 2,000 more vehicles per day than pre-closure. Lower Great Highway has about 700 more vehicles per day. The SFMTA says that means about 1 additional vehicle per minute at peak hour compared with pre-pandemic traffic.
The MTA may well find that there's, 100 less cars that are on, Sunset Boulevard. What they're not capturing are the thousands of people that are driving circuitous routes to try and navigate through their daily lives, and then choosing not to do things because it's too complicated to get there. And that's a common experience, and that's real.
Those pushing for the recall of District 4 Board of Supervisor Joel Ingardio, who supported Proposition K and the opening of the park, aren't giving up the fight.
We're not anti-park people. We're not anti-bicyclist people at all. This is about being excluded from the process and being excluded by, in District 4, by their representative.
For supporters of the park, like Lucas Lux, the president of Friends of Sunset Dunes, the data backs up what he's been seeing on the streets.
The residents of the outer Sunset, when the park first opened, you could see and feel a little bit of a traffic change, but that quickly, as people adjusted to the new route, basically using Sunset Boulevard, which the data shows people are doing, the residential streets are pretty much as they were before. And that's the way it feels to me as well.
The SFMTA says other roadways remain below pre-pandemic traffic and that Sunset Boulevard remains at 90% of pre-pandemic traffic volumes. The report shows Lincoln Way, east of Chain of Lakes Drive, was not impacted by the closure of the Upper Great Highway and remains 7% below pre-pandemic traffic volumes. Still ahead here on CBS News Bay Area, we're going to introduce you to a local chef who is baking through barriers.
Much as it's hard for me to admit that a wheelchair is likely in my future.
How the community is stepping up to make sure nothing holds her back.
Hi, good morning.
Into the 1 o'clock hour this afternoon, we're gearing up for wind gusts up to around 20-25 miles per hour near San Francisco. And that's the trend as we head into the evening hours tonight, too. So let's drop this and talk about some other things going on for us. Not only today, but throughout the next couple days, we'll still see 80s in the forecast in our inland areas, but we're actually seeing a little bit of a midweek cool down. This is great news for us. Sunnier skies today in our inland areas. We'll see cloudier conditions develop throughout the next couple days into the afternoon hours. And at the same time, we cool down to the low 80s by Wednesday and then gradually warm back up as we dive into this weekend's forecast, still holding on tight to those clouds each day until Saturday. Let's head over into the Bay forecast now. A little bit different. Of course, all of our microclimates decide to do their own thing. And if you live along the coast or along the Bay, that's where you're noticing those mid to upper 60s in the forecast, trickled in with some 70s too. That's the case across the Bay Bridge over into Oakland and Berkeley. And the moment you pass the Bay Bridge over into San Francisco, temperatures cool down just a smidge more. We will see sunnier skies, though, as we head into next week as high pressure starts to build in. Over to you.
Well, July is Disability Pride Month, and we want to introduce you to a baker in Napa who has been selling home-baked pastries since the start of the pandemic. 2 years ago, she was diagnosed with multiple sclerosis. Despite this challenge, she continues to live her passion. Suji Nam shows us how her community is stepping up to help.
They're layered with butter. These are aged cheddar and green onion.
Simple ingredients.
They're very unique. They're very time consuming.
That Rory Candell has perfected.
Lots of buttermilk.
You'll find her in her kitchen, rolling up her sleeves bright and early.
Every Wednesday now we have a scone production day.
Making hundreds of pastries each week.
We're a bake-at-home bakery, so everything we make is frozen, meant to be baked by our customers.
With a dream in one hand and a rolling pin in the other, she opened Rory's Bakehouse in Napa during the pandemic. As a baker, she stands for hours in the kitchen, something that is becoming more and more challenging each day.
It turned out that I had multiple sclerosis. So at the time I was diagnosed, it was shocking, but I was very mobile and totally fine. 18 months later, even though I'm on all the medications and doing all the things, I am losing my ability to walk.
And that is why next to all of her baking trays and utensils, you'll find her cane right by her. Candell can't easily lift her feet off the ground anymore, so she shuffles carefully around her kitchen.
As much as it's hard for me to admit that a wheelchair is likely in my future, and I need to make this kitchen ADA compliant because I am handicapped.
And that is when the community jumped in to help, donating money to help her soon renovate her kitchen for her physical needs.
How are you?
Madeline Karam is one of her many supporters.
It's our strawberry shortcake.
She is continuing, and she says, I'd rather transform this entire space, put a lot of money into making it work for her so she can continue to do what she's passionate about.
Even being able to walk to her freezer outside, she does not take for granted.
And we have a very stocked freezer here.
From making cookies to scones.
So this is our strawberry vanilla scone.
Nothing is holding her back.
Showing my kids really that anything is possible. It's gonna make me cry, but really, I just want them to know that if you have a dream, that you can't, like there are so many things that can get in a person's way and so many things that can stop you, but if you wake up every day and you just tell yourself you're going to overcome those things little by little, coupled with the fact that I have the most incredible support system, you can really overcome so much.
Pushing herself every day, baking through the barriers.
Coming up at our next half hour here on CBS News Bay Area, we've been hearing a lot of talk lately about gas prices about to spike here in California.
Starting July 1st, all of our gasoline is going to go up 65 cents a gallon, thanks to Governor Newsom.
Today, we are clearing up the misinformation and investigating how much drivers will actually have to pay.
You're streaming CBS News Bay Area.
Thanks for staying with us this Monday. I'm Ann Makovic, and here's another look at some of our news headlines. A Delta co-pilot taken away in handcuffs after landing at SFO. A flight had arrived from Minneapolis Saturday night. Passengers said after they got to the gate, local and federal agents with badges and guns came in and walked toward the cockpit. Then they arrested one of the pilots. Some of those agents were from Homeland Security. Others were U.S. Marshals and Contra Costa County Sheriff's deputies. No official word yet on why this pilot was arrested. Federal investigators looking into the cause of a deadly small plane crash off the Monterey County coast. All 3 people on board were killed. The twin-engine Beechcraft crashed into the ocean near Point Pinos in Pacific Grove late Saturday night, about a half an hour after taking off from the San Carlos airport. Monterey County Sheriff's Office says all the people who died are from the Central Coast. Steve Eugene Clatterbuck from Salinas, and James Vincent and Jamie Lee Tabscott from Monterey. Search teams on the Russian River have recovered a body believed to be that of a man who jumped from a rope swing and drowned. Crews responded to a report on Saturday at the Hacienda Bridge near Forestville after a man jumped in and never came back up. His body was found shortly before noon yesterday. His name has not been released. This is the 3rd drowning in the Russian River this month. All right, let's get another check on our first alert forecast. Another gray start to the day. Here's meteorologist Jessica Birch.
Well, throughout the Bay Area today, we're seeing some warmer weather in our inland spots. Places like Antioch, over into Concord and Livermore are gearing up for upper 80s, or at least mid 80s, and even some 90s all the way off into the east. You head up into the North Bay, it's a mixed bag of 70s and 80s this afternoon from Vallejo all the way up into Santa Rosa. You head across the Golden Gate Bridge from the Marin Headlands, you're down into the mid-60s today. And along the coastline, we keep cooling down more and more with cloudy skies down into Half Moon Bay throughout this afternoon. You jump the mountains over into the Santa Clara Valley, though. San Jose today, topping off at 78 degrees, 80s just along the foothills. So we're off to a pretty warm start in some of our inland spots as we head into this week's forecast, but it's still cool and cloudy each morning with misty conditions along the coast. That starts to pull back as we head into the afternoon hours along our shoreline, with misty conditions starting to push offshore into the evening hours tonight. Now, as we wake up tomorrow morning, we'll get a repeat of that once again for our Tuesday forecast. But it's wild to think that we're below average here in the Bay. Meanwhile, 188 million people across the country are dealing with heat alerts today as this major area of high pressure continues to shift its way over into the East Coast. So here in the Bay Area, while we're dealing with cool, misty conditions in the morning hours, lingering into the afternoon, we're actually going to see a beautiful, mild forecast all week long. Temperatures a little bit below average heading into that midweek forecast. 80s by Wednesday in our inland spots, anywhere from Antioch all the way up into the North Bay. The Santa Clara Valley included too, and then you head all the way into this weekend's forecast. We'll see some sunnier skies as early as Sunday. Now, as we head over into the Bay, it's a similar setup. I mean, we're talking about upper 60s mixed with low 70s each day this week. Cloudy skies in the morning, misty conditions too. That'll clear up into the afternoon hours each day. Back to you.
Well, today, leaders from the United States and China meeting in Sweden for trade talks. This is their 3rd meeting so far this year. The two sides expected to announce a 90-day extension of the current tariff pause as the August 12th deadline looms. Previous U.S.-China trade talks focused on bringing down triple-digit tariffs and working toward a meeting between President Trump and Chinese leader Xi Jinping. Today's meeting follows the announcement of a new trade deal with the European Union. After a meeting at Trump's golf course in Scotland, that deal sets a 15% tariff on most European imports. That is lower than the 30% tariff that was set to take effect on Friday, August 1st. But experts say prices will likely rise for products like German cars, perfume, and pharmaceuticals. The EU has also agreed to purchase military equipment, $700 billion of U.S. energy, and to invest $600 billion in the U.S. Elon Musk has announced a multi-billion-dollar chip deal, one that could really shake up the chip industry. Musk says Tesla signed a $16.5 billion agreement with Samsung to build its next-generation chips at the tech company's new Texas factory. That move could jumpstart Samsung's struggling chip division. Samsung already produces chips for Tesla and their full self-driving system. Samsung stock rose nearly 7% after that announcement. Predictions have been swirling about a looming jump in gas prices here in California. Governor Newsom countered those claims with a series of gas price fact checks. California Investive correspondent Julie Watts teamed up with CBS News Confirmed to fact-check the governor's fact-check.
When it comes to projected gas price increases, context is key. And maybe more important is how it directly impacts you. So we partnered with the CBS News Confirmed team to clarify some of the gas price increase claims. And we're doing the math so you don't have to.
Did you hear about what's coming on July the 1st?
The warnings on social media are urgent.
Not only is the amount that we pay for fuel going up, but the low carbon fuel standard is also increasing by 65 cents per gallon.
Many pointing the finger at one man.
Gavin Newsom wants to be president, and right now he's destroying the beautiful state of California.
At a White House breakfast earlier this month, President Trump took aim at Governor Newsom too.
Gas prices have reached the lowest level in 5 decades. Not California, because every time it goes down, they add taxes.
Now, Governor Newsom responded with a gas price fact check, accusing Republicans of driving a, quote, concerted misinformation campaign to create confusion around gas prices in California. But context here is key. Now, Newsom notes instead of $6 to $7 per gallon the day of that press conference, the average price for a gallon of gas in California, according to AAA, was actually $4.51. But that is still well above the national average. As we know, Californians have long paid more than drivers in other states due to California taxes and regulations. But what does that all mean for you right now? Well, CBS News Confirmed crunched the numbers, and based on federal fuel economy and mileage data, at our current gas prices, California drivers spend, on average, $759 more per year on gas than the national average. CBS News also confirmed the last time the average gallon of gas in California was above $6, that was back in October 2023, according to both GasBuddy and AAA. Now to fact check number 2.
Starting July 1st, all of our gasoline is going to go up 65 cents a gallon, thanks to Governor Newsom and his California Air Resources Board.
State Senator Brian Jones is among many GOP members who warned that upcoming California regulatory changes could cause gas prices to soar starting July 1st. Now, Newsom also fact-checked that 65-cent price hike claim, saying it was false. Instead, he acknowledged a likely 5 to 8 cent price increase due to state regulations. But CBS News also confirmed that the governor's estimate of 5 to 8 cents was based on an outdated analysis by a UC Davis policy expert. Based on updated data, that same expert now tells us Californians are more likely to see an 8 to 9 cent per gallon increase, which translates to about $51 more this year for the average Californian at the pump.
That UC Davis energy expert, Colin Murphy, says it would take, quote, a jaw-droppingly implausible combination of unlikely events to see gas prices increase by 65 cents per gallon. That is the maximum allowed under California's low-carbon fuel standard. Here's the latest gas price data that we have. According to AAA, average cost of a regular gallon of gas in San Francisco is $4.63, $4.54 in Oakland, and $4.46 in San Jose. A family's hard-fought push for safety changes on a street in Oakland is moving forward. The city broke ground Friday on a new bike lane path next to Lake Merritt. That pathway is named after a 4-year-old girl who was killed in a bicycle accident 2 years ago on that very street. The new 2-way bike lane covers a stretch of Lakeshore Avenue from East 18th to El Embarcadero. The pathway will be separated with concrete barriers from vehicle traffic. The little girl's family tells Da Lin they believe the infrastructure improvement will save lives.
Right now on Lakeshore Avenue, bicyclists ride in this area between parked cars and this white line. There's little protection from moving cars or from drivers who open their doors. Riders say the new bike lanes will get them out of harm's way. Breaking ground Friday afternoon on the Maya Correa Memorial Bikeway, named in honor of this little girl, Maya Correa, who died in a bike accident 2 years ago on Lakeshore Avenue.
It was a big price to pay to get
where we're at right now.
Haide Ghaffari is Maya's grandmother. In August 2023, 4-year-old Maya was riding in a child's seat attached to the back of her dad's bike. When the driver of a parked car opened the door, Maya and her dad were thrown to the pavement. She died 6 days later. Since then, Haide and her family have been pushing for safer bike lanes along Lakeshore. But at one point, funding challenges nearly derailed the project.
We've been up and down, up and down, up and down. Today is an unbelievable day. I never thought we're going to get here.
The 0.7-mile two-way bike path will look like this. It'll be protected from traffic by concrete barriers. And transportation officials say it won't eliminate any parking spots.
We can prevent those deaths, and I think that's the hardest part of this whole thing is, it's an accident, but it's a preventable death.
Bicyclists, young and old, say they'll feel safer once the project is done.
I have close calls frequently. The big problem are speeding motorists.
The cops can't be everywhere. Enforcement is not the answer for safety. Safety is about infrastructure. So when this project is done, we're going to have a protected bike lane that you can't get hit in.
Maya's 9-year-old brother Kai says he plans to be one of the first to ride in the new protected lanes.
It feels unreal because it shouldn't be happening because she should still be here with us physically. So this shouldn't even be a thing at all. She should just be at home with us, and we should be going on multiple bike rides and having a fun, safe time.
Haide says her family's fight isn't over. She wants kids all over Oakland to be able to ride safely.
I have now become a board member of Bike East Bay to continue my advocacy.
City officials say the Maya Correa Memorial Bikeway should be completed next summer, roughly a year from now.
Coming up next here on CBS News Bay Area, the world-famous Gilroy Garlic Festival made its return. How they're looking to the future after tragedy struck 6 years ago.
We were not stopped nor defeated, and we move on.
Well, compared to last week around this time, temperatures are a little bit warmer for us as we kick off this week's forecast. We have upper 80s today and tomorrow throughout our inland areas, down into the low 80s as we head into our midweek forecast, and then averaging out with cloudy skies into this weekend into the mid 80s. That's pretty much where we're at widespread throughout our inland spots, from wine country all the way down into the Santa Clara Valley. But you head over into the coast and along the bay, we're also seeing a mixed bag of temperatures. Upper 60s mixed with the low 70s as we head into the next couple days with cloudy skies each morning.
Well, the Gilroy Garlic Festival has returned 6 years after tragedy forced it to shut down. The event was put on indefinite hold following that mass shooting back in 2019 that left 3 people dead. Now, as John Ramos shows us, the festival returned over the weekend, just on a much smaller scale.
Well, the Gilroy Garlic Festival is back with a new location and a new size as organizers take their first careful steps to putting the past behind them. It was one of the most popular and unlikely events anyone could imagine, a celebration of a plant with such a strong smell that it was known as the stinking rose.
Prior to 1979, garlic was sort of in the closet. Right? And it wasn't until we started having a garlic festival that garlic came out of the closet and became a mainstream, very popular ingredient to use for cooking.
And over the years, the Gilroy Garlic Festival didn't just promote an odoriferous vegetable, it put the city on the map.
Wow, that's really good.
At its height, 80,000 people attended the 3-day event at Christmas Hill Park. Until 2019, when a lone gunman entered the grounds and began shooting people with an assault rifle. He was killed in less than a minute, but 3 festival goers, including 2 children, died, and 17 others were wounded. The resulting lawsuits and insurance hikes shut the celebration down until this weekend.
This is a staple, right? Everybody from the Bay Area comes to Gilroy for this festival. So when it shut down, everybody was really sad. Now it's like the first time back in the original venue, and we just had to come.
Actually, it's a brand new venue. The event is taking up one corner of the Gilroy Gardens theme park. It can only hold about 3,000 people, roughly 1/10 of the old crowd, but the tickets sold out in about 6 hours.
We're definitely going to try to grow it. This is a first step forward. So after being in kind of hiatus for the last 5 years, we're really starting to get our, brushing off the dust on our boots and making sure that we grow this responsibly.
What happened here 6 years ago is something that should never happen to anybody. So as we look forward for future festivals, we want to continue celebrating garlic in this community. But as we move forward, we will never forget the past.
Greg Bozo's family has been part of the event since its beginning and was on scene when the shooting occurred. He recently was elected mayor on a promise to restore and preserve the festival. Now, as visitors feasted on all kinds of garlic-infused foods, both usual and unorthodox, Bozo said it was the people themselves who were changing the fortunes of the festival and the city.
You have helped us come back, and instead of being remembered for something that bad happened to us, we will now be known for how we responded to it, and I thank everybody for that.
It's always so much harder to build something than it is to destroy it. The town was shaken by a random act of madness, and it's taking some time to get their feet back under them. But the determination to reclaim their beloved tradition shows that the scent of garlic isn't the only thing that's strong in Gilroy.
Well, this year's San Francisco's marathon is in the books. Runners yesterday taking part of one of 5 events. There was a full marathon, 2 half marathons, a 10K and a 5K. It was the first time in the race's 48-year history that the full marathon sold out. And our very own Jessica Birch participated in the half marathon this weekend. It was her 3rd year running it, and she ran it in just 2 hours. Tomorrow is the next game for the Golden State Valkyries, and they're hoping to rebound from their most lopsided loss yet. They lost by 31 points to a last-place team yesterday. Ouch. The Connecticut Sun had 12 three-pointers, 14 steals, and 53% shooting, all season highs. Final score 95-64. Valkyries trying to adjust to the absence of Kayla Thornton, who's out for the season with a knee injury. And it's not going to get any easier for them. Tomorrow they're facing off against the Atlanta Dream. You can watch that game on KPIX starting at 4 p.m. Coming up, a longtime artistic director is stepping away from his post at Children's Musical Theater San Jose. How he feels about his final show and what he's doing to let it go. Well, San Francisco just tied its rainiest July on record with 5 measurable days of rain. We know San Francisco can get pretty cold during the summer, but gray skies, drizzle, and chilly temps have made this the city's coldest summer since 1982.
We were just kind of talking about how it doesn't really feel like summer. Some days it's kind of gloomy, like feels like you're, I don't know, under the weather almost.
I really like the cool weather, especially like mornings, evenings are nice. Like golden hour for a couple hours is just so lovely to be outside.
And speaking of Frozen, the Disney animated film is coming to life at Children's Musical Theater in San Jose. This is also the final show for longtime artistic director Kevin Hauge, who is retiring after 3 decades. And as he steps away, a new director is stepping in, one who already has deep roots here in the Bay Area. Our Gianna Franco talked to both of them about their futures.
Well, right now I'm staring at it because this is the first I've seen it.
Oh, so this is the first time you've seen it?
So I just walked in, you're right. So I'm like, wow.
It's a busy day at the Montgomery Theater in San Jose, especially for Kevin Hauge.
Here's an opportunity for you to see Elsa here on the ice castle. Looking pretty good, if you ask me.
As crews work to transform the stage into the magical world of Arendelle from Disney's Frozen. And it's the final show of the 57th season for Children's Musical Theater in San Jose.
This is my 116th show.
116.
Isn't that crazy?
It's also the final show for Kevin, as the artistic director.
Particularly in doing this production, I've just been sort of breathing through the whole process just so that I could enjoy every single moment and really remember all of the great times I've had over the years. And that's really worked for me in this last show, for sure.
He is stepping away after spending 3 decades in this role, leading the creative direction of this long-standing children's program.
I always hope that what we're able to do is stretch people to the best of their abilities in that moment, and that they can realize that inside of them is the potential to do more than even they realized they could do.
And the job has been a special one.
Yeah, it's the kids. Again, like even today when I was sending an email about certain details that we need to work out, it's not because of the way I want them to look. It's about the comfort of the kids and the success of the kids.
And Kevin says not to worry, the program is in good hands.
I think one of the exciting things for me about leaving is it's time for CMT to become new again. And I've worked very hard to give them a strong platform to bounce right off of.
Kikau Alvaro will be taking over as artistic director, and he has deep roots with CMT.
I did one summer show, and then I was totally hooked.
And in just weeks, CMT will launch season 58.
It is a lot to think about, though. I mean, 30 years of a legendary career, and even just that number, like 58, like it's a big number. But for me, it isn't one, right? Like I have had this relationship. For me, it feels like a really nice fresh start and something really exciting for our community.
Kevin says there's really no need for goodbyes.
I think the relationships I have with people will continue. There's no reason to say goodbye. It's just the end of a chapter, and life will continue for everybody.
In fact, right now, he has a show to direct.
Sort of Arendelle, you can see how beautiful all of that is going to look.
Before he takes his final bow.
Frozen runs through August 3rd at the Montgomery Theater in San Jose. Thanks for streaming CBS News Bay Area. I'm Ann Makovic. We're going to be right back with your first alert forecast and another look at your top stories.